Manchester City have apparently made a second bid for Lucas Paqueta, and the bid is in the region of £88 million. Not sure I believe, well, I believe half the news. I'm not sure I believe all of it. Do I believe that Manchester City have made a second bid? Absolutely. They want this done. They want this wrapped up very, very quickly, apparently. The 88 million, I'm just not so sure. Not that I know anything at all, but I just think it would be unlikely. Why would you go from 70 million, go to 88? It just seems a bizarre thing to do. You go to 80 or something like that, wouldn't you? Well, what do I know? I've never bought a footballer in my life, so I don't know about such things. What is clear, that even though the first offer was a verbal one, and we don't know whether this second offer is verbal or written or anything else, what we do know is there's definitely contact between the clubs and an offer has been made. It doesn't really matter on the West Ham side whether it's written, whether it's email or whether it's verbal. As far as they're concerned, they've received an offer from Manchester City because they've briefed everybody on it. Certainly the player himself knows that there's been a bid because his representatives have let it be known that the player wants to go and move to Manchester City. Not going to labour the point on that. We discussed it in depth yesterday. We're just going to have to get over the fact that he wants to go. It all sort of boils down to what are we going to do to bring somebody else in. What was interesting was Pep Guardiola's press conference, because, okay, and for a lot of it, he sort of said nothing, but and by saying nothing, he sort of gave a little bit away. When a lot of these managers, including Pep Guardiola, are pressed on players they have no interest in, they just say we've got no interest in them. I watched it happen not too long ago, actually. He was asked about Neymar. He said, we've got no interest in Neymar. You know, we won't be bidding for Neymar. When asked about Lucas Paqueta today, he said, I don't want to talk about Lucas Paqueta. He's a West Ham player. Okay, right. So we know what he does when he's not interested in a player. I also think we know what he does when he is interested in a player. And I think it's that. Look, he's fooling nobody, but he's got to do it. He can't come out and say we want to sign him. It would be classed as tapping up. It'd be silly to do that. So I don't have a particular problem with that. What was interesting was the journalist asked him about Cole Palmer. Now, obviously, we discussed this in yesterday's video that Cole Palmer was being suggested that he might be part of a deal, part of a swap deal. We'll deal with the implications and the details of that in just a second. But what Guardiola said was, at the moment, Cole is a Manchester City player, but he's unhappy with the amount of minutes he's getting. So, I mean, again, it's few words which speak 1,000, really, don't they? In saying at the moment, well, that's all you need to know on it. At the moment, he's a Manchester City player. He's unhappy with the amount of minutes he's getting. He wants to play more. He's not going to play more. He might a smidgen, a tiny bit. But let's be fair, Manchester City played in all the games last season pretty much, didn't they? About as many games as it was possible to play in. They played in them. I can't see him playing that many more, particularly if they sign Lucas Paqueta. As I mentioned it, there seemed to be some sort of disagreement about where he plays. Sky are calling him a striker, some are calling him a winger, some are calling him attacking midfielder. Look, it really doesn't matter. I've seen a few of his games. I saw 2 games where he played as an attacking midfielder. It certainly didn't look like a striker. He was maybe a false 9 of some description. One of the games I saw him play wide, and he was very, very left-footed, very skillful, very good player, from what I saw anyway. What I do find interesting, though, is that we might be interested in this player in terms of a part exchange. Now, I do think it's important it is part exchange. I think us selling Lucas Paqueta, even if it was for 88 million, and getting Cole Palmer on a loan for a season, I think it's crap. I think it's absolute rubbish. I don't think it does anyone any good at all. Where's the incentive for us to play him? I wouldn't be too bothered about where he plays either. Look, David Moyes will play him anywhere. Don't be surprised at some point, because Thomas Souček's just signed a new deal, by the way. Don't be surprised if at some point that James Ward-Prowse is playing wide left or something like that. Honestly, nothing would surprise me with David Moyes at all. So I'm not too caught up on where Cole Palmer is going to play. What I am more interested in is this whole Lucas Paqueta deal, because it's being suggested that West Ham have rejected this most recent offer, but negotiations continue, and there seems to be, I don't know why they use this word willingness between the two clubs to create a deal. I think it's all quite clear it's going to happen. I think the only question is whether Lucas Paqueta plays against Bournemouth or not. I mean, it does look like, well, it looks like Ward-Prowse. Obviously, Alvarez is signed now, as we've discussed. Yes, I know the moustache is still here. That's a hotly contested subject, really. The moustache, which, as you know, I I put a little sporting bet on with somebody at the start of the window. I was doing a transfer roundup, and he turned around and he said, I don't know why you're doing these transfer roundups. West Ham won't sign anyone this window. And I said, I disagree. I think we will sign someone. I'm so confident that I think we'll sign a player for over 25 million. And I will grow a moustache until the point that we do. So anyway, that was what I did. The reason it's staying on is we've got a Patreons WhatsApp group, and there's a little petition thing going on to keep the moustache. And whilst I'm not bowing to pressure, it's quite funny reading all the comments on there. Actually, by the way, talking about Patreon, let me just say that now. The whole reason I'm able to do these updates over the last 2 or 3 days is because we do this as a job. And there's a number of reasons why we do that. Those horrible adverts that you have to sit there and suffer through, they're one of the reasons we can do this as a job. Another one with fantastic sponsors like ETC Sports, One Football, they're a massive part of it. But one of the main reasons we can do this as a job is because of our wonderful patrons. Now, basically, Patreon's our third Hammers Chat channel. You get loads of additional content, and you get to support Hammers Chat, which allows us to do this as a job. It's patreon.com/Hammers Chat. We've got a load of good stuff going on there. We've got the Anton Ferdinand podcast, loads and loads and loads of stuff. Also, you get a discount from our store. This is from our store, hammerschatstore.com. Get up to 30% if you're an addict. So go and check it out. The link is in the description below. As ever, we really do appreciate your support. I'll tell you what I am worried about, by the way, is this flair or the lack of flair that we're going to have. I remembering back to Sam Allardyce days, I used to really like Zarate. Remember Zarate? And I used to sort of cling on to him. And I know he wasn't the best player in the world. And people used to say, well, why are you going on about Zarate all the time? And I used to say, well, he's the only one. He's the only one in this team that I can look at and think, okay, yeah. He's the one player that would get me off my seat, so to speak. And actually, Allardyce then signed Joe Cole, put him on the left wing, funny enough. What a waste that was, by the way. And also then he brought through Ravel Morrison. And I think there was one game, possibly I've got it in my mind, it might have been against Fulham. I think we might have had Zarate, Ravel Morrison and Joe Cole on the pitch at the same time. I thought, oh, wow, what's going on here? What a treat. But I think I was so sick and tired with the football that I was just so delighted to see not only Zarate, it could have been anyone that was willing to dribble, to take a long shot. Long shots were banned under Sam Allardyce, as if you remember. They used to get fined. The players used to get fined for taking long shots. And I think I was just so pleased to see this one little bit of flair on there. And this sort of worries me now. I'd look at it and think, not only has Paqueta got to be replaced, Paqueta's got to be replaced by somebody bloody skillful. And I noticed Alex Scott signed or signing for Bournemouth today. Is that sad? Yeah, the sad thing is that, contrary to reports at the time, we were never in for him. And I think that's probably a bit more believable now as well. We were never, ever in for him. He was not one of the players that we were looking at all. David Moyes had no interest in him at all. I couldn't, honestly. Tim Steit and that, Mark Noble, I couldn't tell you. But, there was no interest in him. And it's a real shame to see him go to Bournemouth, because I would have loved him at West Ham. He looked really, really good. Again, they're sort of buying players like him and Kirkes, that was really good against us. They're buying sort of young, attacking players who are going to get better and better. And, we seem to be doing things a little bit differently. So, you know what? You can bring in Ward-Prowse, you can bring in Maguire. Alvarez, I don't know yet. He's certainly not. He's 25 years of age. I hope he's going to be a really good player for us. And I'm actually quite pleased. That was good news that he'd signed. Don't get me wrong. I'm not upset about that. I'm pleased about that. But I think what is important is, if we do sell Paqueta, and it looks like we are going to sell Paqueta, I want another player like him in. I do not want to see a midfield of Alvarez, James Ward-Prowse and Souček. I just don't want that to be the three in midfield. I want some fantasy in there. I really do. Or don't do that. Play a different formation entirely and play two up front. Or, give us another striker. I really do will feel the loss of having an attacking player, a player to get you up off your seats. And David Moyes needs to certainly, I think, appreciate the value of this. I think we've done miraculously, be West Ham fans, to go from a 34,000 seat stadium to something to 60,000. And, all right, is it packed out every week? No. But I'll tell you what, every single week, there's probably 55,000 in there at least. To put an extra 20,000 is amazing, but you're not going to do that unless you've got some players that people want to go and see. And Paqueta, should we say, is certainly was one of those. Is one of those? I don't know. I'm saying was now, am I? Anyway, there you go. Look, the news is going to be breaking. I won't be doing another video today unless something absolutely ridiculous happens. By the way, this is my third one today. I don't know how many I did yesterday, 1 million, something like that. I think James Ward-Prowse gets confirmed tomorrow, so we'll certainly be back with a little bit of that. But yeah, Lucas Paqueta to Manchester City. I think the deal's going to be done. It'll be somewhere between 80 and 90 million. I think it'd be. What is interesting, if it was 88 million, Man City are willing to pay more for Lucas Paqueta than they were willing to pay for Declan Rice, which is interesting, isn't it? But I'm not sure that's the figure. The second bid, absolutely. The figure, not so sure. Cole Palmer coming our way. Yeah, I would like. It looks like a really, really good player, but there has to be some value. Just him on loan, that'll do no good at all because. We've got to have some. We've got to have some flair. We've got to have some fantasy. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow.